one of the last things Jesus said, he said, go into all the world and preach the gospel. That's the last thing he said. It's called the Great Commandment. Well, in the last of these step series that we're doing, we're going to talk about what does that mean? What does that look like? Go into all the world and preach the gospel, teaching them to obey, to baptize, and to be like Christ, and to start. And they did it. They started in Jerusalem, and they went to Judea and Samaria and ends of the earth. They did it sequentially. Did you know the first church within the first 300 years had turned the whole Roman Empire upside down, and the Roman Empire came to Christ? That's crazy, because these people did the go. And that's the last kind of disciple-making philosophy we have. Love God, grow, love others, and go. What does that look like? Well, I want to talk to you about what that looks like. And we're going to talk about living out God's peace plan. What does it mean to be engaged with God in his peace plan? And the peace plan of God, and I'll give you the acronym and then we'll explain it, but I want to tell you it has a personal application, it has a local application, and it has a global application. So we'll talk about how that looks in just a second, but let me tell you what peace stands for. P-E-A-C-E. And why do we even need the acronym? Here's why. Because there's stuff in the world that are jacking people up, and we need to address it. And let me tell you what these are. There are 5 things. First thing is spiritual emptiness. People need the Lord. People need the Lord. Do you know that there's religions in the world that their sole purpose is to dominate the world and to create a legal system that all the world abides by? It's called Islam. That's what they're about. It's not about spiritual, it's about domination. No, Jesus wants us to be about addressing spiritual needs. We're spiritual people first and foremost. God breathed in us this life, the spirit. When this body dies, my spirit's going to live forever. In fact, this body, I'm going to get a new one. It'd probably be better than this one. Hard to imagine, but it's going to be better than this one. So that's amazing. So spiritual emptiness. The second evil giant, we'll call them that, is egocentric leaders. I've been all over the world, and what keeps countries from being developed or growing, especially in Africa and in Latin America, is egocentric leaders. Might be a problem in America too. Just thinking. The corruption, the maniacal behavior, the keeping the oppressed pushed down, the bribery, the looking for money. I mean, all of that is that, and even in the church, I've been to Haiti where I thought every pastor was on the take. And it's just harsh that egocentric leaders, and they need to be addressed and trained and been done differently. And then, of course, there's poverty. Do you know 5 billion people live in austere poverty? We're not talking about just being poor like America poor. America poor doesn't even fit in the 5 billion people. There are 3 billion people that live on less than $2 a day. Most of them, y'all, get this, Africa, Asia, India in particular, and Latin America. Now, the elites among us would like to eliminate all them. So that's a whole other conversation which we won't have. But poverty is a problem, and poverty needs to be solved not through government welfare, but Christian engagement throughout the whole world. And think about in our prosperity as Americans, if we could reach into the world to help assist the poor. We'll talk more about that in a second, because poverty is a big issue. And then there's sickness. You know, more kids die from malaria and bad drinking water, dysentery, than anything else in the world. And that goes hand in hand with poverty. What about things like AIDS? Do y'all know it's not a sin to be sick, but it's a sin not to care for the sick? Or malaria, and I've already mentioned malaria. Dysentery, I mentioned dysentery. What about other airborne viruses and illnesses that people, it's just, you got to care for the sick. And then, of course, the last thing is miseducation, misinformation. Boy, that's huge, especially in our day and age. I don't know where I can find a trusted news source these days. And I know that people live in ignorance because they're not educated. When I was in Africa, we were trying to teach people not to drink the water that they were using the bathroom in upstream. Change where they got the water, just go upstream and go to the bathroom downstream. I mean, simple things like that, brushing your teeth, washing your hands, having proper hygiene with your food, just those simple things. And then teaching children about the spiritual side of life and helping them to read and to write, because education becomes the leverage that brings societies and people up. And so we want to address those giants with God's peace plan. Before I tell you what it is, I want to say this to you, okay? We're not trying to bring heaven to earth, because that'll never happen. I mean, heaven's going to be heaven, and heaven's out of this world. But let me tell you this. We can give people a taste of heaven. Just a little, like at Costco, just our Sam's, just a little sample. We can give them a sample of heaven that'll soothe their weary souls, that can encourage their egocentric hearts, that can assist the poor, and care for the sick and educate future generations. And I just accidentally gave you the peace plan. So here's the peace plan. This is what we do. First thing is we want to partner. We want to partner with spiritual entities and churches and humanitarian relief organizations that are doing the good in the world and need doing. We need to partner with them. And so we develop partnerships based on relationships. We don't partner by just willy-nilly or just sending people cash. We want to have a partnership that says, here, we're with you and we're for you. That's why here in our church, we want to do church-to-church partnerships. We partner with the Methodist Church in Costa Rica. Now, they're the global Methodist Church. It's a little different from the Methodist Church here in the United States, but we partner with them. We partner with other churches like Horizon Church in Jaco, which is a church, an English-speaking church, that are doing the good in Jaco that needs doing, with recovery ministries and other things like that. We're partnering with them, and we're partnering with through relationships, so we can pray for them and provide resources with them, and they're back to us, and we can do that together. Then the E means to educate or equip Christ-honoring leaders. What I've discovered is that pastors here in the United States and around the world, they need help. They need to be equipped. They need to be educated. They need to be shown methodologies of systems at work and help create healthy churches for healthy believers to change healthy communities and bring God-honoring results in the world, to equip leaders. And that even goes into governmental leaders. It goes into system leaders. And it's amazing when we say we're going to equip leaders, and we can do that locally through the school boards and the city councils and who we elect from the mayor. Those are part of the God's peace plan to equip leaders. And then the A stands for assisting the poor. The poor are always going to be with us, and we need to realize that. But we need to really have compassion for the poor, to feed people when they're hungry, to clothe them when they're naked, to provide shelter for them when they're homeless. There's no excuse for that. In the church, if we lived out God's peace plan, we're leveraging and leaning in and identifying and helping the poor. We're assisting the poor. You know, the church needs to do what the government can't do, and that's be what Christ wants us to be, his hands and feet. And then the C stands for assisting, caring for the sick, to help people. Okay, I'm going to say it. Addiction's a sickness, and it's not okay to let people be addicted. It's right to care for them, to provide recovery ministries, to care for people that are dealing with debilitating diseases and illnesses here locally and globally, to really care for the sick, provide humanitarian relief of basic sanitary conditions, and then the next level of care, and then, of course, the super level of hospitalization. Did y'all know that the church is the one who started hospitals? They're the ones who started caring for people in natural disasters. And that's what caring for the sick. When the tornado comes, we run in. When there's flooding, we run in. When there's fire, we rush to extinguish and to help. We care for people that are sick or in trouble or in disaster. Then the last part of the peace plan, the last E, is to educate future generations, to teach them what it means to live all for Jesus, and to teach them what a healthy lifestyle is all about. You know, we teach our children reading, writing, and arithmetic, at least we're supposed to. What if we taught them how to live a God-honoring life? What if we encourage our children to live a life that's beyond themselves and a life of service? What if we teach adults to do that? Now, I want to say this to you because I want you to listen very carefully. There's 3 areas that you live out this plan, P-E-A-C-E. First is personal. What are you doing to partner, to equip, to assist, to care, and to educate? What is your passion leading you to do? To partner. Are you a part of a local church? Are you sharing your hope with your neighbors? Are you equipping by being engaged in the political system or the leadership system of your local area? Personally, are you assisting the poor? Are you hoarding your money? Are you giving away generously? Are you caring for the sick? Are you educating? What are you doing personally? you have to take a personal responsibility and to fill out God's peace plan. But then there's a local, and this is what we do together. We look around the crossroad areas and say, how can we partner? Now, partnering with spiritual entities is hard here because churches have been in competition with each other for as long as I've been around, and that's like 40 years. But we have to break down those barriers. Who can we partner with? What organizations, institutions can we partner with that'll help us do the things we need to do? And then how can we equip leaders here locally? And how can we assist the poor and care for the sick and educate future generations? What can we do as a church collectively to have a community impact? And then finally, what can we do globally? The church center has moved. The church center has moved several times. It was in Jerusalem at the beginning, and then it moved to Antioch, and then it moved to Istanbul, and then it moved to Germany, and then it moved to the United States. Now it's moving again to Latin America and to Africa. What are we doing to partner with these churches internationally and nationally? What are we doing to partner with them for spiritual emptiness and creating healthy churches? What are we doing to equip leaders, to educate and teach them? We have a whole curriculum we teach called the Building Lives Churches Model. And we don't teach theology, we teach methodology to pastors here nationally and locally and internationally. What are we doing to assist the poor? What are we leaning into? That's why we want to start these centers of hope throughout Latin America to have a root cure rather, for forced migration and immigration, to help people have established healthy communities so people can stay where they were originally meant to stay, to solve the problems of austere poverty, and to care for the sick through these centers of hope, and to educate future generations. What are we doing locally, personally, locally, and globally? What am I giving my resources to, my time, my talent, and my treasure, and my influence to make a difference through the peace plan? Now, we're going to give you more information and talk about how we can build peace teams in future videos as we talk about this, but this should get your discussion going. How can we be that? Now, let me summarize all of this. We love God and grow, we love others, and we go. We go with God's peace to be messengers of God's peace, to attack those giants, those global giants that are ruining the world, all for God's glory by living out His peace plan. I hope you have a great discussion. I hope this has helped.